A parcel has arrived. Let's see if I'm right about my guess at what's in here. Nicely wrapped parcel from an eBay seller. Yeah. Right, it's a Kindle. Kindle version 3. I was particularly drawn to this device because it's got a little keyboard on it. It's a really lovely form factor. Future Shrimp here. I think this video just needs a little disclaimer. This is a 23-minute video of technical tinkering and wittering that ultimately didn't achieve very much. I hate to disappoint people, so if a futile ending is going to annoy you, perhaps best click away and watch something else. But because I put several days of effort into making this video, I'm still going to publish it for people who just like to maybe listen in the background while they go to sleep or something. So I have a particular use case in mind for this, but first I'm going to charge it up, or try to charge it up, see if it works all right. So I think that is micro USB there. Here is a micro USB cable. Is it micro USB? It's not some proprietary nonsense, is it? Plug it in, and I'll leave it charging for, it says 30 minutes. We'll leave it charging for half an hour. We'll see if it starts. If not, it might need a battery replacement, which is apparently not that difficult. This thing does pop open, and the battery is kind of user replaceable-ish. Hopefully we won't need to do that. I'm going to just charge this up anyway and see how far we get. All right, it's been more than 30 minutes now. There is actually a little amber charging light there. I don't know if amber means anything in particular, or if indeed the colour of this thing changes. But let's see if we can get any life out of it. I think to turn it on, we slide that thing across. I'm not very hopeful. I'm surprised it doesn't run off the USB power, actually, but apparently not. So, well, I'll leave it charging a bit longer, but we may be dealing with a dead battery here. While we're here, though, this keyboard's actually quite nice. It's not, you wouldn't want to type your novel on here, but it's definitely a usable little thumb board. Better, I would say, than maybe, the BlackBerry or Trio type of keyboards that were common on mobile phones before everything went touchscreen. But yeah, my use case for this is I want to use it for if I take web recipes to the kitchen, because I don't want to print them out on paper. I also don't want to have them on a phone screen or something like that because the power keeps going off. This thing, if I can find a way to condense web-based recipes down to one page of stuff, then that'll be really convenient for just looking up a recipe, get it on the screen, take that to the kitchen, and then that can sit there and it's not consuming any power when it's not changing. That's the nature of these electronic ink or e-ink or e-paper screens, is that when the display on the screen is not changing, it's not consuming any power at all. It's a nice screen. It's very, very readable, and it does look a lot like paper. A parcel has arrived. I think I know what's in here. Let's open it up and have a look. Yep. So, this is a replacement battery for this Kindle. Now, I should say that the whole idea of getting this revived and jailbreaked, is nothing to do with the recent changes on Amazon where you can't use certain kinds of ebooks or you can't download your ebooks anymore. It's nothing really to do with that. I'm not a Kindle reader. I do prefer paper books personally, but I want to make this into a kind of slightly general purpose computing device. So it does run Linux already, and you can jailbreak it to run a slightly more open version of Linux where you can get a terminal, you can get text editors, you can get all sorts of things, little bits of software to use on this. And of course the advantage of that is that this is daylight readable, it has a keyboard, unfortunately it doesn't have a numeric row. That's a bit of a shame really. If it had a numeric row, that would be ideal for field data entry into spreadsheets or whatever, because it consumes very little power. Anyway, we're gonna just have a look at this. It's not sealed, but it clearly is new. And there we go. This is 1750 milliamp hours, so not a massive capacity. It's a low power device anyway. Alright, so let us get this thing open and replace the battery. Now I think the point of entry is here. I think this line is the bit that opens here, and I think the best place to go in is just above that button there. I have a selection of opening tools. Let's see if we can get in there. And I think this is all held together using little plastic clips. So yeah, we've got one of them open there. It's not easy. I wonder if I might be better off with something like this. No. Perhaps the thin plastic one. Ah, that's it. That's the better tool. So just got to kind of, I'll put some of those in just to stop it popping shut again. Always feels like, and sometimes actually turns out to be, when you open these cases and they've got these little plastic clips, that if the plastic is a little bit old perhaps and brittle, and sometimes just because the design didn't incorporate the possibility of being opened, you know, it was a kind of shut and forget solution. Sometimes the little plastic tabs break off, and whilst you can get the thing open, it's never quite the same when you try and put it back together. Now I can see a ribbon cable there, so I'm going to just go really carefully over this bit, and perhaps just go the other side of it just there. I don't want to do damage to this device, although not that it works at the moment anyway. We're getting there, nearly all the way around now. That's it, and now we get to the last side. That should just pop off. I'm not going to open this like a book though, because these clips need to come straight up. There we go. Nothing on the back case apart from whatever that is, that little sticker. Interesting. Something, a little component in there or something. I don't know what that is. Anyway, there is the inside of the device. So, battery. I'm going to assume that the CPU and RAM and stuff are going to be underneath these bits here. I don't know what that bit is. Is that a speaker maybe? There is a speaker grill, isn't there? Yeah, and there's a little channel that goes down. Let's just see. So there is a channel that goes down here. So I think that is a speaker grill. There's another what might be a... No, that's the speaker. And that's a speaker. So no idea what this bit is. Interesting. Anyway, battery replacement should be relatively simple. There are just two little screws here. Phillips head screws. I'll take those out. And the battery just lifts out like that. Isn't that a joy and a pleasure? Doesn't appear to be turning into a spicy pillow or anything like that, so it doesn't look like it's at risk of exploding. It's just dead. That might be bad news for this attempted repair, because maybe it isn't gonna go in there, but there we go. It's not quite the same, but anyway, that just goes into place there and the screws go back in. In fact, what I might just do is put those screws through the holes and get them into the right place. Is not going to be super simple, so I'll just put those in like that, drop the battery in, and then I can just get those into their place. Rotate them backwards a little bit until I hear them click, and then they're definitely not cross-threaded. And then there we go. So that's the batteries back in. Nothing has changed on the display, but I've got a green light here now. So let's see if we can... Yay! Okay, battery's empty, but we had a sign of life there. So yeah, I'm not surprised it still needs a charge, because that battery's probably been sitting in a warehouse for a while. So we'll give it a charge. We'll give it a half an hour charge I wonder if actually, now that it's connected to power, I wonder if it will turn on. Oh, maybe. Yeah, looks like it's working. Cool. Well, that was fairly simple. I'm going to wait for the battery to charge completely, and then we'll get it back together, and then we'll try to get this rooted, or jailbroken, or whatever is the correct term, and get this to have a little bit more functionality. I suspect I might have to do a factory reset on this, because whoever owned this last, if the battery failed, they probably didn't get a chance to clear their account off of it. So I will do a factory reset on this. While we've got this open though, let's just have a little look around inside. So one of the things I thought was a bit strange was this bit and this bit here, because I didn't notice at the time, but there's a little slot on the side here and another one here. These are not big enough to, that's not big enough to have an SD card into it, even a micro SD, and that one's even smaller. But so that bit there is connected to, that looks like just a little switch or something. I wonder if that's just the reset switch there. But that one is a slot that has 4 little connections. 4 connections suggests to me USB. So does this thing have, is that an accessory port? I shall have to do a bit of research because I don't really know very much about this device. But anyway, I can see the LED there has gone green. So it looks like we're in business and that's charged up. So, yeah, that sticker there, UPM, it does look like there's a little, it's almost like that's a little antenna or something, but it doesn't look like it attaches to anything here. It would be just in the middle of this bit here. So it doesn't press contact onto something else. Interesting. Anyway, right, that's the way round that goes. It should. Just snap closed all the way around with what often feels like excessive force. Quite clipped together. Oh, there we go. Okay, have I got it everywhere? I think there might still be one here that needs to clip shut. There's just one little plastic clip here on the bottom that isn't quite engaged, and perhaps I should have pressed that end in first. Oh, I do hope I don't have to go all the way around again. Right, let's try the middle first this time. Yeah, it looks like maybe I should have put that end down first. Oh well, round we go again then. Let's get that back off again. Let's try that again, shall we? It doesn't look like there's any particular order of reassembly, but well, okay, that's back together now, and that was pretty horrible. And actually what was happening here was that, well, the plastic clips, so on the edge of the case there are these little tongues that stick out. On the back part of the case there are slots all the way around the outside, and the slots kind of clip onto the tongues like that. So if you imagine that there's a plastic slot on the back and it kind of clips onto the tongue that protrudes from the edge of the case. What had happened was that because it hadn't quite engaged, the tongue had pushed down a little bit and deformed, and the slot had crushed a little bit and deformed, and there was just no way for those two things to be pushed far enough to engage anymore. So what I had to do was take the back off again, get in there with a fine flat screwdriver and just open up the slot, and also just lift up the tab that was protruding out from the edge of the case. That was not fun at all, but we're back together now and the clips are all back in place. So there we go. I'm not going to dig into, this looks like maybe it belonged to a student or something. I'm going to wipe this. I've got to find out how to do a factory reset on this, and I'll be right back. The screen, by the way, is just very lovely. I don't really have any other e-ink devices that I use. Time now, I think, to go and figure out how to jailbreak this. Okay, well, that was fun. That was a bit harder than I thought, partly because this device was on the lowest version of firmware, and before I could jailbreak it, I had to upgrade it all the way up to the latest version of firmware, which was actually 4 sequential updates. There was no cumulative update, you had to do each one in turn. Anyway, that's done. Then jailbreaking it is just a case of dumping the jailbreak file onto the right place, onto the root directory of the Kindle. Just plug it in the USB and copy it to the storage, and then run the update process again, and that's done the jailbreak. And then same sort of deal with this QL launcher, cool launcher. And so that we just dumped into the documents thing, and hopefully when we open this, something happens. This device is not registered as a test. Please ask the developer to add this device to the list of test Kindles. Well, we might be out of luck then in that case. This has not actually gone quite as well as I hoped, and part of it is because this is a really, really old device, and unfortunately there's a limit to what it can do. That's a real shame though that doesn't work. Okay, I'll have a look at that, but I'm a little bit disappointed that this thing doesn't even have a text editor on it. It's got a keyboard, but the keyboard is just for searching and bookmarking documents. So there isn't even a way to just create a text file and type things into it. That said, this keyboard, although I do, as I say, I love the form factor of this. It's a very nice idea. This keyboard is not great for typing. It's not great for even hunt and peck. But anyway, this has been a fun experiment. In any case, I've got this thing working now. So worst case, I could just sell this, and I'd probably sell it for more than I bought it for. In fact, more than I bought it for, plus the cost of the battery, which was like a £5. So anyway, we'll see. I might still keep it anyway, because it's a handy device to have if I just want to view PDF files. If I just want to have something that can sit and display a bit of text or a bit of diagram or something like that without consuming any power. Okay, back again. I did a bit more research, and it looks like there was a prerequisite for this cool launcher, which was the Mobile Reads Kindlet kit or something like that, some development kit that you had to put on there first. So I've done that. We'll see if this works now. The title is not signed by a registered... Maybe there's something I need to put in the developer folder as well. There was when I installed the MKK thing, there was a developer folder as well. So maybe there's a certificate or something I need to put in there. Okay, well, I'll keep looking. This is not easy, by the way. This is just the people who wrote all the document. They're obviously incredibly clever people, all of the people who did all of this. But the documentation is really fragmented, and it's written by people who know what they're doing, rather than people who want to get you to know what you're doing, if you know what I mean. It's a frequent problem with any kind of technical guide, is technical people tend to write a document they understand, but it sometimes just assumes that you know things that they assume everyone knows. Anyway, I'll come back in a moment if I manage to get anywhere with this. Okay, well, here we go again. So there was apparently an updated key store that needs to be installed, whatever that means. So let's just do the update on that. All right, let's see if that's made the difference. Kind of suspect we'll hit some other snag here now. Oh, no. Hey, look, we're here. We're here. We're in this. Okay. I mean, there's no extensions in there at the moment, but this is where we can put additional applications in. So we can find a text editor application and drop it in there, and hopefully we can have some actual interactive content here. Yeah, okay, well, getting somewhere anyway. Okay, well, I found a couple of extensions to put on here, and let's give them a go. So in Cool, I've got KTerm, which is a terminal emulator. Oh, that looks like that just crashed. That's not good. Okay, and LeafPad, which is a text editor, which also just crashed. Well, that's not great, is it? That might be as far as we get with this, actually. I've got a feeling that this device is just too old to work with any of these things, unfortunately. Yeah, it's a shame. It's trying to do something, trying to run something, but it looks like it just isn't going to work on this device. I will do a bit more troubleshooting. Okay, well, I'm scratching my head and getting splinters here because now this test Kindle installation result turned up out of the blue. And when I look at that, it says, your Kindle is no longer a test Kindle and is unable to test active content titles previously signed by authorized developers. So, when we go back to here, it can't run that again. This device is not registered as a test Kindle. So I've run into the same problem I had earlier. So I'm afraid what's going to happen now is I'm going to reset to factory defaults. That will undo all of the jailbreaking and other stuff. It won't undo the version upgrades that I've done, so it'll still stay on version 3.4.3. And I think I'll probably resell this. Maybe somebody else will have better luck with it, or we'll use it for something that suits them, that still works on here. So just to kind of wrap up this whole experiment, this Kindle then I have reset to the factory settings. It turns out then that jailbreaking this is still possible. There's not actually an awful lot you can really do with this now. A lot of the open source projects, for example, there's a thing called Kindle Note. There are various bits of software that potentially would have run on this. Unfortunately, it's been so long since this device was current that a lot of those software projects have got bits and pieces missing now that have been archived off the GitHub or something like that. So even trying to install a plain text editor on here is not very easy, because you have to jailbreak it, which is possible. You have to install the software, but also you have to install a key store, and that piece was just missing, and unfortunately I couldn't get that working. So there probably are things that could be done with this if I was a more determined hacker. You know, it is running some sort of ARM CPU in here. Notionally, a really very experienced and competent hacker could probably completely reflash this with custom firmware. The problem's going to be getting the drivers to run the screen and the keyboard. So unfortunately, yeah, this is not a viable project. It turns out actually also this keyboard, despite the fact that I do love this form factor, it really is quite a lovely thing. This keyboard's not that practical to use. Maybe that might be an artifact of my sausage fingers. So this device could still be used as an e-reader. So if somebody wants to stick just ebooks on there, that's still a completely viable use case for this. I prefer reading paper books myself, so this is going to go to a charity shop now. So anyway, I hope that kind of rather fruitless journey has been interesting in some way. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.
I don't think so. No, 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 no. I don't think so. No, 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 no. It's never, ever, 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 ever gonna happen. I don't think so.